The things I'm going to share in this video about my life are not things that I share often at all. But if you feel stuck, if you're frustrated, if you feel like your life is a mess, I really want you to listen closely. Because if you take a look at my life on paper, I was never meant to have the success that I've had today. I grew up in a broken home. My dad was in and out of my life. He was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and he was physically abusive towards my mom. My mom was emotionally abusive, controlling, and she carried a lot of pain and anger that she didn't know how to deal with, and she would take it out on me. I did horribly in school growing up. I was overweight and I hated my body. And for a long time, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere and like I was never really going to be anybody in life. But today, I somehow have a PhD in nutritional sciences and I graduated top of my class. I have a healthy marriage. I have 2 amazing kids. I love my body and I'm in shape and I'm healthy. And I've built a business that's not only successful, but I truly love. And the only reason I'm here is because I chose to do things differently. And in this video, I want to share with you 3 lessons that I've learned along my journey that have completely changed my life. And if any part of my story resonates with you, I want you to understand that it's not too late for you to rewrite your life as well. Let's get into it. I want to take 3 to 5 minutes here to share a little bit about my personal past and where I've been and where I come from. So as I mentioned, I grew up in a very broken home, okay? Starting with my dad. My dad was in and out of my life from the time I was born till about when I was 10. And then I didn't see him again till I was 16. And when I say he was in and out of my life, like I would see my dad for a couple of weeks and then he would be gone for a couple of weeks and then he would be back in for a couple of weeks. And a lot of this stemmed from his issues with alcohol and drug addiction. And it also stemmed from the way my mom related to him and how she was abusive towards him and would kick him out of the house and all this stuff. And like growing up, I just thought this shit was normal. Like it was my experience. And like, I just thought it was the way people were. Right. And I also experienced a ton of physical abuse at home, not towards me, but my dad was very physically abusive towards my mom. And, when I was a kid, I remember this vividly. I would see, I can like, without painting the picture, I can picture my dad physically abusing my mom and me as a kid trying to diffuse the situation and just like coming up to them with a little toy, asking my dad to play with me or my mom to play with me. And it wouldn't help the altercation at all, but obviously stuff that I would never wish upon anyone. Like no kid should experience those things. And for me, it was a regular occurrence in my house whenever my dad was around. And, I've forgiven my dad for a lot of the things that he's done because he had a lot of issues and he's expressed remorse as well, but it was a shitty experience. My mom wasn't really much better. Although my mom wasn't physically abusive, she was extremely emotionally abusive. To give you some examples, I was never really close with my grandparents on my mom's side. My mom's mom passed away before I was born, so I never met her. And my mom's dad, my parents are immigrants from Cuba, so I actually never really met my mom's dad. I met him like once briefly. And so I never had a relationship with them, but I had a fantastic relationship with my grandparents on my dad's side growing up. Like, my grandma meant the world to me. We were super close. And I was really close with my grandpa too. And sorry, I'm getting emotional as I tell this, but I was really close with my grandpa too. And I mentioned earlier that my dad was in and out of my life until I was about 10, and then I didn't see him again till I was 16 or 17. And I'll just tell the whole story. When my parents officially separated when I was 10, my mom didn't allow me to talk to my dad at all for 6 or 7 years. And that meant that she cut off all ties with anybody on my dad's side of the family, including my grandparents, who to me were like my parents. Like I loved my grandparents. So I wasn't allowed to see or speak to my grandparents for 6 or 7 years either. Keep in mind, these are people that, like my grandparents, I would be with them every weekend. They were super involved in my life. And then after my grandma passed away, when I was in my mid-20s, and I told my mom about it, she almost like blamed me for not seeing my grandma as often as I should have, because towards the later part of her life, I, didn't have much of a relationship with her already. And then she passed away and I didn't go to her funeral because I had stuff going on and it was a big trip. And my mom was like, you should have gone to the funeral and you should have stayed in touch with your grandma more. And it's like, dude, you did this, Another perfect example here that paints the picture, and like these are big examples, but she's done little shit like this my whole life, is like my mom didn't come to my wedding. When I told her that my wife and I were engaged, she didn't say anything. She actually didn't speak to me for months. And then when I finally started speaking to her again, she said explicitly, I'm not going to your wedding. Like, just picture that, right? Because she didn't approve of my wife. Like, my wife is a wonderful person. There's nothing not to approve of. But it was just jealousy, essentially. My whole life, I grew up performing like shit in school. Not a good student at all. I was always a class clown. I never turned in homework because I would just stuff it in my book bag. My book bag was a mess, so I would just say I couldn't find it. I would get straight like C's and D's. I would fudge my report card when I would show it to my mom because my mom would go fucking crazy if I had bad grades. So I kind of just did enough to slip by. I would lie about it my whole life. Like, I was a horrible student growing up. I was also really overweight as a young teenager. I struggled with body image and confidence pretty much the vast majority of my young adult life. I wouldn't even call it adult life, but as a young teenager. Like, I went to the doctor and the doctor told my mom I was like 2% body fat away from being obese. I was pretty overweight, right? And it came from the fact that, like, one, my parents didn't know much about nutrition, so I ate a ton. But I think I also used food as a way to cope emotionally when I was a kid. I didn't realize those things when I was a kid, but I definitely realize them now, right? So I'm sharing this because, again, like, I am not supposed to be on paper where I am today. I'm supposed to just be another number, right? Somehow I have a PhD in nutritional sciences. Not only do I have a PhD, I graduated top of my class. I literally graduated top of my class. And I was a fucking horrible student growing up. I have a healthy marriage. Like, my wife and I communicate effectively. Obviously, we have arguments. Everybody has arguments. We don't see eye to eye on everything, but we always talk things through. I know she's got my back 100%. I got her back 100%. We're super happy. We have 2 wonderful kids. I would consider myself a fantastic dad. I consider my wife a fantastic mom. I feel confident and I love my body. Like, I'm confident in who I am. I like taking my shirt off at the beach. I have been able to transform my body into something that I, really like and I'm proud of. And I pause there because, I mean, we all have doubts in my mind, right? I was thinking about, like, all the hate that I get on social media sometimes, that I don't look like certain fucking social media influencers or whatnot. But the truth is, I've come a long way and I'm really proud of the progress that I've been able to make. And I also somehow have a fucking successful business that I love showing up for every day. And sorry, I'm cursing a little bit more than usual. I curse a little more when I get emotional and talk about some of these topics. But I didn't have anybody in my family to show me the ropes and show me how to run a business. Like, I've been able to do all this shit on my own. And it's something I'm really proud of. And again, I'm not sharing this stuff so you feel pity for me. And, like, I don't share this stuff often. But I know that many of you might feel stuck. You might be in pain. You might feel like your past is holding you back. And I'm here to tell you, like, that's not true. I want you to hear this because I want you to reflect on some of the lessons that I'm going to share here. And really, when I say reflect, like, I mean internalize this shit. Think about how it applies to your own life so that you can make better decisions and be proud of the person that you're becoming and the person that maybe you've already become if you're somebody who's not so young. The first thing I really want to talk about is something that I feel like most of us know, but we don't verbalize it consciously often. And I feel like subconsciously, this is something that prevents many of us from realizing our full potential. And that is that your past does not define your future whatsoever. I think based off what I'm sharing so far, I think it's pretty obvious to tell that, at least in my example, that your past doesn't determine your future, right? Like I mentioned, I come from a broken household. My mom has always even, like, laughed at the idea of marriage. Just put that into perspective. She has a child, and she's trying to show me what it's like to be a responsible, healthy adult. Part of that is being a good parent. Part of being a good parent is having a good relationship with the other parent. And my whole life, she always would tell me that marriage is stupid. Marriage is pointless. Giving so much of yourself to somebody else is naive and it's childish. And I know where she's coming from, right? Because she's been hurt so many times. And she's never been treated right either. So I understand her perspective and I feel for her pain. But it's such a wrong perspective, right? On the complete other side, like, my dad has never really been committed to a relationship, ever. He cheated on my mom multiple times. I know that for a fact. I have siblings that I don't even know about. My dad doesn't even know about them, even though they're his kids, right? So my dad isn't exemplary in any way when it comes to relationships either. On paper, those things should affect me in a way that makes it hard for me to have healthy relationships. But as I mentioned earlier, I feel like I have an extremely healthy relationship with my wife. And not just with my wife, but with my friends. I feel like I have great relationships with my friends. I have great relationships with my in-laws. Because I work really hard at cultivating healthy relationships. I've been able to see what a healthy relationship is like and what an unhealthy relationship is like, and understand what I want out of my life and what I want out of my relationships. And part of that is also setting boundaries around the things that you accept and around the things that you don't accept, right? So just because you've had a certain past, it doesn't mean that that needs to affect your future. At least not in a predetermined way, because I would say that my past definitely has affected who I am, but I've been able to use it to shape and mold who I am and become the person I want to be rather than the person I should be by default. On paper, I'm not supposed to be a kind and gentle dad. I'm not supposed to be somebody who leads by example. Like I mentioned, I experienced a ton of abuse growing up. I bring up the aspect of leading by example because my mom didn't really lead by example. It was very authoritative. My mom would tell me what to do, not how to do. She wouldn't model the behaviors. And to her credit, a lot of the things that she told me that I should do, I stand by them. Like, they're really good lessons. She just doesn't embody them, right? Another quick story here. When I was a kid, my mom would absolutely force me to eat everything on my plate. And now this is going to be a little bit of a mixed, people will take this in a mixed way because some people parent like this, but my mom would take it to an extreme. For example, I remember clearly one day as a kid, she served me a full ass plate of food that I did not like. Okay. Lentils with some veggies and some, like, I think it was like pig's feet or something like that. I didn't like it. And I had to eat all of it. I remember I was probably, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old. I told my mom that I didn't want to eat it because I didn't like it. She told me I had to eat it. I got about halfway through it and I told my mom I was going to throw up. She told me, if you throw up, I'm going to fill the plate back up. And I threw up. I went to the bathroom and I threw up because I absolutely did not like the food. And I came back and she stayed true to her word. Like, the plate was filled back up. I had to eat the entire thing. I sat down. I ate the entire thing. I didn't complain, right? But like, that's extremely extreme. Like, I would never do that as a parent. I don't think that's the right way to parent, right? On the other hand, my dad was not strict whatsoever. I could do whatever the fuck I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. Not only that, my dad encouraged me to do bad things, like steal. As a kid, like, I would steal shit from the store and my dad would encourage it. He thought it was cool. As I'm sure you're picking up, like, my parents were very, very different. It's funny that they even ended up together. But I am so different than both of them from a parenting perspective. And again, on paper, I'm not supposed to be the way that I am when it comes to parenting. I'm very gentle with my kids. I try to talk to my son through his feelings. He's only 2.5, so it's hard to do sometimes. I try to model the behaviors that I want him to model. I don't force him to eat a certain way, but I put certain foods on his plate, even if he doesn't like them, and I put them on my plate, and I eat them. And then I look at him and I explain how these foods make me healthy and make me strong. Being strong is something he really cares about now, right? So I try to lead by example. I also provide structure for my kids, right? I don't let them just do whatever the fuck they want to do whenever they want to do it, because I don't think that's being a good parent. Another thing I'm not supposed to have is a successful career. I love what I do for work. I love doing this podcast. I love serving our clients. I love growing Fit for Life Academy, which is my business. Neither of my parents have a successful career. My dad is a high school dropout. He's a truck driver. To his credit, he really enjoys driving his truck, but he doesn't have a successful career. My mom went to college, but not in the U.S., and then shortly after graduating from school, she migrated to the U.S. from Cuba, and so she never really used her degree professionally. My mom's not somebody who likes her job at all. She's a home health care assistant, and she does what she needs to do to get by and make a living, and she did what she needed to do to put a roof over my head and be able to feed me and be able to educate me, and I'm really thankful for that. But I've never had somebody model what a healthy and enjoyable career looks like. I've never had somebody teach me about entrepreneurship. I've never had somebody teach me about business. I've learned all of this on my own through hard work, through commitment, through dedication, some of the things I want to talk about in a little bit as well. But I'm not supposed to have a successful career. I'm also not supposed to be in shape. The statistics are pretty wild. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but kids who are overweight or obese have a substantially greater likelihood of being overweight or obese as adults and having a hard time like having a healthy relationship with food. I've been able to work through those things. I was really overweight as a kid. I remember when I was 11 or 12, 11 and 12, middle school, I would wear 2 shirts to school because I was embarrassed with just wearing 1 shirt because my nipples would literally show through my shirt and I was overweight. So I would wear 2 shirts to cover up, 2 large baggy shirts. Like, I was not confident in my body whatsoever. But thankfully, and I don't want this to sound like everything my parents did was wrong, because my mom specifically, I grew up primarily in a single parent household, did a lot of positive things for me as well. I was always involved in physical activity. I was involved in sports. Although my whole childhood, I thought I fucking sucked at sports and I hated doing them because I was always the fat kid that was out of shape, that couldn't run fast, that wasn't strong. But thankfully, over time, I built the habit of being physically active. And then towards high school, I really wanted to start weight training because my mom was always into the gym. And so, thankfully, my parents did model some pretty healthy behaviors when it came to physical activity. Like, my dad was always into being physically active. My dad was in pretty good shape, would always be doing push-ups, running, all of that stuff. My mom went to the gym, so I grew up in the gym. So I guess I shouldn't fully say that I wasn't meant to be somebody who's in shape, but I definitely wasn't in shape or healthy or confident in my body when I was a kid, right? And like I said, today I'm super confident in my body. I love the way that I look. I love the way that I feel. Most importantly, I'm definitely not supposed to have a PhD. I struggled so fucking much at school. Some of the biggest fights I've had with my mom is because of my performance in school. I almost failed out of school so many times. I probably almost failed out every grade. And it's funny because I used to think it was just stupid, but reflecting, I thought I was just a stupid kid, but reflecting on it now, I definitely wasn't. I'm definitely not stupid. Because I would always do really well on standardized tests, so end of year exams, it was mostly just due to laziness. It was due to the fact that I wouldn't prioritize school, and I think a lot of it stemmed because of the issues that I would experience at home. My dad also never really encouraged me to do well in school. He always told me that school was kind of stupid and I shouldn't put so much effort into it. So I did really bad in school. I also did really bad in college. My first 2 years of college, I almost failed out of school. I was actually forced to change my major from exercise science to nutrition. Well, I chose nutrition because I failed out of exercise science 2 semesters in a row. Picture that, right? And again, it wasn't because I was stupid. It was because, one, I'm somebody who just focuses on things that I enjoy, and if I don't enjoy them, I don't put much effort into them. That's part of my personality. And when I was taking a lot of the general educational classes, like history classes, writing classes, English classes, I didn't like any of that stuff, so I didn't put effort into it. And 2, I didn't know how to be responsible. I had no structure in my day-to-day life. I was in college. I had complete freedom. Growing up, my mom was extremely strict, so I would just party. I would go out with friends. I would skip class. I would just, all I would care about was partying and chasing girls, right? I didn't care about school when I was 18 or 19, so I almost failed out. And now I have a PhD. Picture that. So again, all this is to say that your past does not in any way define your future. It might shape your future, but I think you can use your past to shape your future in the direction that you want to shape it in. Now, the second lesson that I want to share, I think, is the main thing that has helped me take my past and shape it in a way that has been healthy and has contributed to a lot of the success that I've had in life so far. And that is the importance of being self-aware. I really do think self-awareness is the foundation for change. Because if you're not self-aware, if you don't know what things are good for you, what things are bad for you, what direction you should go in, then you're just leaving things to chance, which is not good, right? And going hand in hand with self-awareness, I think it's really important to understand and be aware of the things that are holding you back, relationships that are holding you back, people that are holding you back, and being comfortable letting go of those things. This is something I've struggled with a lot my whole life, and I still struggle with this shit. I'm not gonna lie and say I don't struggle with these things. I think I struggle less with it, and I've come to terms with a lot of things, but it's difficult, right? For some reason, I've always been somebody who's very self-aware. I've always reflected a lot on my life. I tend to say I'm somebody who's not emotional. I definitely am emotional, but I'm very emotionally centered, I would say. I rationalize my emotions a ton because I reflect on a lot of these things. So for me, I think the reason why I didn't end up parenting the way that my parents parented me is because I'm very self-reflective, and I realized that I don't want to model my parents' relationships, right? A lot of people who grew up with abusive parents become abusive parents. It's sad, right? We become a byproduct of our abuse, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think it starts with self-awareness. So being self-aware enough to understand that things in your past you don't have to end up being that way. For me, it's like, man, I am so critical of everything that happens around me, especially the way that my parents treated me. And like, I've thought about this so much. My mom was this way. My dad was that way. She did this thing. He did that thing. I don't want to do it this way because it affected me this way, right? Like, how do you think I felt as a kid when my mom forced me to eat a plate of food, and when I threw up, she filled it back up and I had to eat the whole thing? You think that made me love my mom more? Or you think that made me dislike her more, right? And develop remorse for her? That's what it did, right? It made me dislike her more, develop remorse for her. I never understood why she would treat me like that. Like, if you love somebody, I don't think you treat them that way. So I don't treat my kids that way. It starts with self-awareness, right? One thing that's been difficult too for me throughout my adult life is realizing that I don't have to please my parents. I feel like so many of us seek the approval of our parents. I've done this my whole life. I've done this until very recently. I would bend over backwards to please my mom, bend over backwards to please my dad, to make them see that I'm not a bad son. My dad's never thought I'm a bad son, but my mom specifically has explicitly said that I'm a bad son for all the shit that I've done when I haven't done anything bad. But even then, like, so my mom and I don't speak at all. We probably talk once every year and a half, 2 years now. We try to rekindle our relationship, and then it always ends up back to where it is. It's like she doesn't approve of certain things and they have to be the way that she wants them or not at all. And then we just stop talking. But every time we do start talking, I get really excited. I get really happy because I love my mom, right? And I want to have a good relationship with her, but I've realized that's impossible. And I realized that's impossible because I'm never going to be the person that she needs me to be in order to be able to have a good relationship, which I think is the person she wants me to be is practically, it's impossible, right? And I bring this up because trying to please my mom has caused a lot of turmoil in my relationship with my wife, because I change things up when my mom's in my life and I really want to please her, and I bend over backwards to make her happy. And for example, when she comes to visit, she doesn't tell me when she's coming, she doesn't tell me when she's leaving, and my wife is always like, can we know when she's coming and when she's leaving so we can plan around it? And I'm like, no, it's all good, that's just the way she is. And it bothers my wife, and so then I sacrifice my wife's happiness and my wife's peace to please my mom, when my mom has never done that really for me, because it's always just been about her, right? So as of recently, and I've come to terms with this, like, I've kind of just let go off the relationship with my mom. If she's not going to make an effort, I'm not going to make an effort. I'll text her and say happy birthday. Every once in a while, I'll send her some pictures of the kids because I know she wants to see them. I know it makes her happy, but that's about it. I'm not bending over backwards. I'm not changing up who I am. I'm not sacrificing my wife's happiness to make my mom happy. Same goes with my dad. I see my dad more as a friend than as a dad, because my dad has no sense of responsibility, has no sense of ownership. It's all like, he's very selfish. And he masks it as just being like a cool guy who goes with the flow. But it's just a facade, right? To give you an example, my daughter is now almost 5 months old. My dad lives an hour away from me. He has yet to come meet her. That blows my mind. It truly blows my mind. Yeah, it's mind-blowing. About a month ago, I texted him and I was like, yo, Dad, you want to come this weekend? Let's hang out. I think that was about a Monday or a Tuesday. And he was like, yeah, for sure. Text me a little bit closer to the weekend because I don't know what I'm doing on the weekend yet. Like, he can't just prioritize, like, this is what I'm going to do this weekend. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, I could probably come over Saturday or Sunday. I texted him. I said, hey, Saturday I can't because I have plans on Saturday, but we can do Sunday. And he's like, all right, all good. We follow up on Friday. He's like, yo, Joey, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Tomorrow being Saturday. And I was like, Dad, I can't do Saturday, but I'm completely free Sunday. And he's like, all right, I'll see you Sunday. Keep in mind, he lives an hour away. He's like, I'll see you Sunday. I'm super excited, right? Because my dad's going to come. We're going to hang out. He's a fun guy. We have a good time together. He's going to meet my daughter. And 15 minutes later, I got a text from him saying, actually, I'm not going to be able to make it because I got hit up from work and I'm going to go make some money. He does not have to work on a Sunday, right? This is him electing to work a little bit more on Sunday to go, quote unquote, make some money. And I think it's just a bullshit excuse anyways. But I'm just like, all right, whatever. He calls me like 10 minutes later because I know he feels bad. And he's like, hey, Joey, like, I was going to come, but like, I'm just going to go make some money. And I was like, all right, cool. And I know a lot of this stems from like, issues that he's had as a kid and all of that, but like, I don't need to let it affect me. I spoke to my wife about this, like, and I'm not going to say it doesn't affect me because it does. It makes me sad. I wish I had better parents, right? But I don't. It's like the hand that I've been dealt, right? But I'm self-aware enough to understand that I don't need to fix them. I don't need to please them. It's been about a month now it's probably been longer than a month since my dad and I talked about that. Like, typically, I would have probably texted him another 2 or 3 times saying like, hey, does this weekend work? Hey, does that weekend work? But he hasn't texted me. So it's like, why should I go out of my way to try to please him, right? And then change my weekends up so that he can come visit when he might bail last minute. And I talk about self-awareness in the context of these things because I think it's important for you to be self-aware enough to understand what relationships serve you and which don't, and be okay with letting go of some of those relationships. Relationships with my parents aren't the only ones I've given up. I pretty much don't have a relationship with the person who was my best friend growing up. Had a super close friend all through high school, all through college. He was my roommate. We don't talk at all. I cut him out of my life altogether. He messages me every once in a while. I don't respond. Why? Because it's not a constructive relationship. It doesn't contribute positively to my life in any way. And I've had a lot of relationships with these like friends, with friends over the years, where it's like relationships kind of just dissipate. And I feel like sometimes we try really hard to hold on to relationships simply because of the memories of what they used to be. But I think it's important for us to be self-aware enough to understand that those memories are just that. They're just memories, and those relationships have changed and they no longer are what they used to be. And that's okay, right? Because we build new relationships, we build healthier relationships, we move forward in life. It's not helpful to dwell in the past, to reminisce, to prevent that from, to let that prevent you from becoming the person that you want to be, from developing the relationships that you should be developing, and to stop wasting time on all of these relationships that are not positively moving you in the direction that you want to be moving forward in, right? Or just in the in the direction that you want to be moving in the first place. So yeah, self-awareness, I think, is a skill that we can develop. I think it takes time. But if you're somebody who finds yourself kind of just always going with the flow, and making decisions that you then in the future think to yourself like, why did I do that? It doesn't necessarily align with who I want to be. It doesn't necessarily align with the things that make me happy. I wish I would have done those things differently. I encourage you to really take a pause and reflect on why you make those decisions. Because oftentimes, I think it's because we just don't take time to reflect on how our decisions affect our life. And we're not self-aware enough to understand that some of those decisions, we're just making them because we want to please other people. But in reality, they don't serve us in any way. And now the third lesson that I've really learned throughout my life that I want to share with you is that things like confidence and success are not gifted. You are not inherently born with these things. Maybe to an extent, right? Some people are a little bit more confident than others. Some people have some abilities that others don't have. That's fine. But I think in general, confidence and success are built through repetition. They're a byproduct of consistency. They're a byproduct of doing hard things over and over and over again, being persistent, being hard-headed, and proving to yourself that you can do hard things, right? Because all the things that I've shared before, like, hey, your past doesn't determine your future. That's great. Being self-aware enough to let go of relationships and make the choices that you know align with the person that you want to be. That's great. But if you're not consistent, if you're not persistent, if you're not willing to make those hard decisions over and over again and get your head bashed into a wall and fail and get up and continue going, you're never going to become a confident person that feels confident that you can achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. You're never going to have the degree of success that you want to have, because success is followed by a fucking myriad of failures, right? I wanted to word that a little bit more eloquently, but I couldn't think of the words. But essentially, we see people who are successful, we're like, man, that's nice. And what we don't understand is that they've probably failed a million times. Maybe some haven't. Maybe some have gotten lucky, but the vast majority of successful people have failed a million times. And what makes the difference between the people that have had success and the people that haven't had success is that they just didn't give up. Not only did they not give up, but they were smart about getting back up and choosing the right direction, right? Part of this is being self-aware in terms of understanding which behaviors are serving you and which are not, and moving more towards the behaviors that are serving you. But it really starts with repetition and consistency. For some reason, I have always been very hard-headed and very consistent. I may not be the smartest, but I'm not one to really give up easily whatsoever. When I set my mind to something, I really do stick to it. For example, like this podcast is a perfect example. My podcast, I'll share some stats, has not grown at all in a year. Like literally the same number of downloads every month, hasn't grown not even a little bit. And some months it's gone down. And I still make a podcast every single week, many weeks to 2 podcast episodes. Why? Because I'm consistent, right? I was going to say because I enjoy it, and I do enjoy it, but enjoyment is not the reason why I do it, because there are other things that I would enjoy doing more, like playing outside with my son. And the main reason I do this podcast transparently is because it's part of my business, right? And because I want to share the lessons and the lessons that I've learned during school and help you achieve your health and fitness goals. And I want to share my personal story and all of that because I want to make an impact. But for me, my podcast is an extension of my business, and it helps if my podcast grows. Right? If my podcast grows, if my social media grows, my business grows. And a lot of people, when stuff's not growing, when it's not going the way they want it to go, they just give up. And that's when you're definitely going to fail, if you just give up, right? And I'm consistent because I'm confident. And I really do believe that if I just keep doing this, it will eventually hit the stride that I want it to hit, and it will start growing, right? I really do think that my consistency stems from 2 things. 1, fitness, and I'll talk about how that is in a second. And 2, I am thankful that my mom has always instilled the idea or this thought that I'm not better than anybody else, but nobody else is better than me as well, right? So we are all equals. If I see somebody doing something awesome and they're successful and I want to do that, I don't ever think, oh, I can't do that. My inherent thought is always, if they can do it, I can do it. Right? That's where the confidence comes in. But I haven't always been confident. Again, I think I built this confidence as a byproduct of consistency and the way that my mom raised me. And fitness. Like, fitness has taught me delayed gratification, right? If you go to the gym, you don't see results immediately. It takes time. You have to put in work to see results, and the results are not guaranteed. It's taught me hard work, because working out is fucking hard, right? So I really do thank fitness for a lot of the lessons that I've learned in my life as well. When I was growing up, like, my mom always forced me to do hard things, even if I didn't like doing them. This is one thing that I am very thankful for. For example, I was forced to always play sports. It didn't matter what sport I was doing, but I had to play sports. Even if I didn't want to, and trust me, I didn't want to. I used to cry and be like, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, no, you're going to do this. And then as a byproduct through repetition, I started enjoying it and started having more success in it. Simply because I don't think we are innately or inherently passionate about different things. I think passion is developed through consistency and seeing small wins along the way, right? So when I first started, like, I love basketball. As a kid, I hated basketball because I couldn't run. I didn't really know how to shoot. I was clumsy. I didn't know how to dribble a ball. And then slowly I started dribbling the ball a little bit better. And then I started shooting a little bit better. And I started seeing that I was a little bit better than my friends. And then it became competitive. And then I really enjoyed basketball. So I think the passion comes as a byproduct of staying consistent, pushing through the failures, choosing hard, and slowly seeing yourself improve. And it's improvement itself that we develop passion for. At least that's something that I've experienced in my life. I was that way with music as well. I started playing the guitar and the piano, and at first it was hard. And when I started playing guitar, my fingers would get all cut up and it sucked, and I had to take 2 hours out of my day to go to practice, and my mom would take me, and I didn't want to do it. But then I became super passionate when it came to, about music, and I actually wanted to be a music major. I played the saxophone in my college marching band. I didn't go down the music route because I didn't want to be broke, and I started developing a bigger passion for fitness again because I started doing it consistently and I really enjoyed it and started seeing some success in it. But I think it's really important that we develop the skill set of being hard-headed, for lack of a better term. And when I say hard-headed, I just mean like putting your head down and doing the hard work and staying consistent and understanding that you're going to fail. You're going to fail not just once, like multiple times over and over. And if that's something that scares you, good. Lean into the fear. It's something that I think really makes us grow as people. It's not something to shy away from. I think failure, I think fear, hard times, challenges, these are the things that shape us as humans. These are the things that make us who we are. These are the things that make us more resilient. And these are the things that prove to ourselves that we can do the things that we want to do, that we can have success in life. And I think when you develop that skill, you become unstoppable. I truly do believe that. I think this skill of being consistent is what helps me be truly confident that I can achieve anything I want to achieve, even when I'm struggling. Like right now, being transparent. This month with our business has been shitty. I've been feeling stressed. I've been feeling anxious. Especially because we just came off of a really great first 3 months. January through March was awesome for our business. And this month, April, has been really tough. But I don't let that get to me. I don't let it change the things that we're doing. I don't let it derail me, because I am confident that if I keep doing the things that I've been doing, I will have the success that I want, because I've proven that being consistent helps me have success in the past, right? Now, the last thing I want to share here to wrap this up is that you don't need to heal everything to create something beautiful, to create a life that you love, okay? Although I've been sharing all these things that I'm confident, I'm self-aware, I still have a ton of moments of self-doubt. I still feel anxious and stressed sometimes. I have a lot of inner turmoil and conflict, especially when it comes to things related to my relationship with my mom and my dad, whether to cut those people off, whether I'm making the right decisions, whether I'll regret it in the future. How will I feel when my mom passes away if I haven't spoken to her for 5 years? How will I feel if my business fails? How will I feel if I can't take care of my family? I have these thoughts almost daily, but it doesn't prevent me from moving forward. It doesn't prevent me from taking action. And if you feel these things, I'm here to tell you that they're normal. They don't mean that you're broken. They don't mean that there's something wrong with you, even though social media or whoever you listen to might make you feel that way sometimes. I think it's part of being human. I think being human is this beautiful balance between like being happy and enjoying life and seeing how beautiful life is, especially if you have kids, especially if you're a parent, coupled with the idea that life is short, that we're all going to die, that success isn't guaranteed, that life is hard, right? So if you have a lot of these thoughts and you struggle, it's normal, guys. At least that's my perspective. I don't dwell on it too much. Typically when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling stressed, I remind myself like, oh, this is just part of the process. I'm not always supposed to be super happy and joyful. Like there are supposed to be hard times. It's okay to be stressed. It's okay to feel anxious. It's okay to be doubtful. It shouldn't prevent you from taking action. You can still lead your family, lead yourself, lead those around you. You can still create a wonderful life for you and those that you love. You can still be an amazing parent while having doubts as to whether or not the way you parent is the right way to parent. And you can still have success in your life. Anyways, guys, I will stop being so philosophical now. You know that I always have to crack a joke. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know it's totally different than anything I've shared before. Please, if you did enjoy this episode, reach out to me. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear from you. Either send me a DM on Instagram, share this on your stories. If you're on YouTube, just comment below. I want to hear from you, okay? And if you want to email me as well. My email is drjoey, so Dr. Joey, at fitforlifeacademy.health. Send me an email. Let me know what you thought. I read those daily. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are a regular listener, please just take a second to rate and review the podcast. It helps me a ton. And I'll catch you in next week's episode. Peace.